stock before? Ooh, I've got a few, yay. Okay, so here in the Cancer Wellness Kitchen, we use veggie stock as a substitute for almost all the rest of the stocks. But I am going to show you today how to make veggie stock, how to do chicken stock, and how to do a shrimp stock so that you can do this at home. I don't know about you, but one little Tetra Pak, that's what they call those plastic cartons, is 4 cups of stock in the grocery store, and it is about $4. So you're paying about $1 a cup of stock, and it's so easy to do. So with our veggie stock, which we're going to do first today, we're going to make a roasted veg soup. With our chicken stock, we are going to do a Mexican-inspired soup, not a tortilla soup, but one with the flavors of Mexico. And then with our shrimp stock, we are going to make a better-for-you seafood gumbo with shrimp and crab. And all 3 of these soups are great to freeze. So if you want to follow along in your packet with the recipes, I'm going to start with the vegetable stock and the roasted veggie soup. So first of all, Shayna said that we often put our ends and pieces in the freezer, and that is true to make vegetable stock. So take a look at this. We've been sitting here for a while, so it's not quite as frozen as it was. But what we do is we take all the bits and pieces, the yummy pieces of vegetables, onions, herbs, tomatoes, and put it in the freezer. And we have on the front of the bag the name, which says veg stock, and the date we started the bag. So what we do is when this bag gets full, we get out our trusty stock pot and we put our vegetables in here. So this has got carrots, ends and peelings. Of course, it's all clean. One of the things that you want to make sure that you have in here is some onion skin, because with all these different colors in here, if you don't have the onion skin, guess what happens to your stock? It's gray. It's not pretty. And we eat with our eyes first. So we want to make it a beautiful brown color, like this veggie stock right here. So can y'all see that up there? Whoop. Isn't that gorgeous? So this is the vegetable stock we made yesterday. Simply by putting a couple of bags, and this is a lot, a couple of bags of our ends and pieces of vegetables that we had kept for a couple of weeks in the pot, filling it with water. Now, one of the big secrets to making really rich vegetable stock is not putting too much water in here. You just barely want to cover the top. So Lee, will you put enough water in there and show them? If you put too much water in your stock, guess what happens to it? It gets really diluted, right? So you want to just barely cover the top, put it on, bring it up to a simmer, and then when it simmers, turn it down a little bit and just simmer it for about 20 or 30 minutes. It's a wonderful color. Yay. Okay, so here you go. So you'll notice here that I have not filled the pot up to the top, just barely over the veggies. So this is what I do to make veg stock, and when we get it done, it looks just like this. So to make this soup, what I'm going to do now is I've got some vegetables in the oven, and I'm going to go take them out of the oven. They've been cooking in here, and I can't wait to show you because they're beautiful. Take a look at these colors. Oh, I liked that. Whoever said, wow, you can say it again. Look at this. Isn't this just like the embodiment of fall? All the different oranges and reds. So these are little red cherry tomatoes. You can use Roma tomatoes. We just happen to have the red and orange tomatoes here in the kitchen. We've got beautiful onions, carrots, and some fennel. How many people have used fennel before? What have you used fennel in? Pasta sauces, salads, okay? So we're missing the bulb because it's on the tray, it's already roasted, but the bulb of the fennel is right here. And you can use the fennel instead of celery. So you can use it cold or you can use it in hot dishes like this. So once I've roasted the veggies, all I have to do is take the vegetables and put them into a stock pot. We've already got some in there because we're making a lot. Okay? Ooh, hot. Thanks, Lee. So we're just gonna scrape out all of our veggies. And listen, you guys, look at the brown bits and pieces on my aluminum foil there. Okay, so if we were in a fussy French restaurant, you know what we call those pieces? I'm gonna take it for just a sec. You know what we call those pieces? Anybody know? All right, here we go. You can impress your friends and neighbors. They're fond, F-O-N-D. Okay, and when you have this caramelization, this wonderful brown bits on the bottom of a pan, you don't want to lose those, okay? So what I would do is I might just take a little bit of my vegetable stock and look, and scrape up some of my fond with a spoon. And now I can put that, oh man, can you smell this, Mr. Cameraman? Smells pretty good, doesn't it? Here we go. And now I'm going to put it back in my soup. There we go, so I get some more of the goodies from it. There we go. And Lee, there is, thank you. Okay, now that I've got the veggies in there, I'm going to put my veggie stock in there. And then I'm going to use one of my favorite appliances, and that is my immersion blender, which I call the boat motor. There we go. But before I do that, I think I'll do it right now. So here we go, I've got it plugged in. How many people have an immersion blender at home? Okay, if you don't have one, this is a great kitchen tool. So all I'm gonna do, woo, that was exciting, is blend up my veggies. And after I blend them, and I'm gonna let Lee do this while I show you how to make an herb bouquet. You know, I remember watching Sarah Moulton on Food TV, and she would do this, and she'd always say, it's gonna get loud. So it's gonna get loud. Okay, and you can puree this as much as you want or as little as you want. So I'm gonna make just a little herb bouquet with the rest of my parsley and a little thyme. Because I'm gonna, after we puree this, I'm gonna bring this up, back up to a simmer and simmer it for about 20 minutes. We probably won't quite get the 20 minutes out, but here we go. So all I'm doing, and I have kitchen twine here, you all. You do not wanna use twine with plastic, right? Because it will melt into your soup. Here we go. Now, I actually make my tomato sauce with putting my herbs in like this, Shayna, because then I can take them out at the end. And if you have any dried herbs at home that you have grown in your garden and dried them yourself, are we good? All right, here we go, swimming in the broth. And that's good. So let's take a look at this broth now, which is now really chunky and beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So we've got the roasted vegetables that are a little bit pureed. We've got, Lee's turning it on. We're gonna get it up there. And then, in a minute, we're gonna serve it to you. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. We're gonna serve it to you with a little bit of kale in it. So, how many heads of kale do you think this is? Guesses? 2. All right, 2. You can tell you're not chopping the kale at home there, George. 10, we're actually right in the middle of both of you guys. It's about 5 bunches of kale in here. So we've chopped it, and once this gets to be a little bit warmer, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put the kale in there. Now, we don't want to cook the kale for all the 20 minutes because I don't know about you, I still like my kale to have some texture. I don't like it to be stringy. But as soon as this gets warm and simmery, we're going to put the kale in and let it cook for just a little bit, maybe what, 2 minutes? And then we'll have a roasted vegetable with kale soup to hand to you. And last but not least, I just want to show you that we're going to garnish this soup with a little bit of basil leaves that we have julienned. So we've just taken the basil leaves right off of the stem, and to julienne it, what I'm going to do is, with a knife, oh, if, you know, that's the old thing about the snake and it would bite you, I'm just going to roll it up. And I'm going to take my knife and just go right through the basil. And here we go. Now we have just beautiful pieces of basil that we're going to garnish your soup with. So that's going to bring out the flavors of those roasted veggies. And you know I love herbs because they're the only thing you can buy in almost any grocery store that don't have 3 things. No fat, no salt, no calories, and they make our food taste so good, right? So let me show you what I put in my chicken stock. So first of all, these are the ingredients other than the chicken. So we've got some celery in there, we've got some fresh carrots, so you should see this on your recipe. You've got an onion, and again, just like I talked about the onion skin making the veggie stock a beautiful color, it will also help with your chicken stock too. And then I use a little bit of sea salt. We like sea salt here because there's a possibility that it might have a little bit better mineral content than the kosher salt. And then some black peppercorns. And I must tell you, we just took these right out of our pepper grinder. So we just opened it up and just took some out. So other than the chicken, these are the ingredients. Let me talk to you a little bit about some of the differences in chicken stock. One of them is that chicken stock, I'm beeping, chicken stock can be a richer chicken stock or a lighter chicken stock, just like I talked about the veggie stock. Some of the ways you can make it a darker chicken stock is to roast your bones in your stock pot, like I talk about putting the raw bones into your stock pot. If you do if you roast your chicken bones in the stock pot, in other words, just turn it up to about medium and get your chicken bones all cooked, you will have a richer chicken stock. Another trick is one of the things we did yesterday because we wanted a really rich chicken stock. And we had some cooked chicken to put in there, some cooked chicken bones, and some raw chicken bones. And let me talk about that in just a minute. But Stacy, what did we put in there to make it richer since we had a half and half?
We rubbed the bones with tomato paste.
Exactly. So you can also rub the bones a little bit with tomato paste, and that will, believe it or not, make it a richer stock. So if you got a little bit of tomato paste left over, either in a tube or you've just taken your tomato paste out of the can and put it in your freezer. Never throw away tomato paste. It's too expensive and too good. You can just rub a little bit on your chicken bones and it will, it'll make your stock even more intense and rich. Now let me talk to you about raw bones versus cooked bones, okay? So what we do when we buy chicken here, I only buy organic chicken for cancer wellness. That is a personal choice, but for here, I really want to give you all organic meat. So I only buy organic chicken. I get it from one of the big box stores, but you can get it from your local grocery store. I feel strongly about meat and dairy and about our Clean 15 list from the Environmental Working Group. So we try to do that with our fruits, veggies, dairy, and meat. So these were organic chicken breasts that we bought on the bone, no skin, but it was skinless. And we just took the meat off because we got the meat and we're putting it in the soup as well. But how many people buy rotisserie chickens? Okay, good. All right, so for your rotisserie chickens, do not throw the carcass away. Same theory as the roasted veggie stock. Take your plastic bag, put the date on it, put your carcass in, put it in the freezer. When you get about 3 or 4 chicken carcasses, we're talking about bathrooms and carcasses today.
I know.
Put them in your freezer. When you get your bag full, take it out, same thing. Put it in your pot, but if it's cooked, you're going to need more chicken bones than you will if it's raw, because you want to pull the flavor out. Once the chicken bones have been cooked, the flavor has already been pulled out of it, okay? So when I called for raw chicken bones in here, that was because I wanted the most flavor. But you can also do it with your rotisserie chickens. Just don't put as much water, just barely cover those bones with the water. And you may need to cook it a little bit longer, along with your other, and we would call this in the cooking world our aromatics. Our celery, our carrots, our onion, our black pepper, corns, a little bit of salt. And hey, if you've got those fennel fronds, the ends of your fennel, guess what would be great in your stock? Right in the stock with it. So we've got some beautiful stock that we made a little bit earlier, and now I'm going to turn it into the Mexican chicken soup. I think you all are going to love this recipe. It's one of my favorites. It's a little bit different than the chicken soup, the tortilla soup, because it is not, we don't use corn tortillas in it. So if you can see here, what has already occurred is that Stacy made the chicken stock yesterday, and then she also grilled some beautiful veggies. So this is a whole Roma tomato. This is just a grill pan. You could absolutely do this in on your grill outside too. And if you're making any kind of soup, if you grill your vegetables, oh my gosh, it is so good. It just really intensifies the flavor, makes it caramelized, and it's so good. So here are my Roma tomatoes, red onions. We should have some green onions in here, but the girls back here were so fast they got to them before I could leave a couple in here. So we grilled the veggies earlier. We put them in the pot with the chicken stock to cook down. But before we put them in, we took our onions that we had grilled here, and in order to caramelize them even more, we sauteed them in a little oil in the bottom, along with a couple of garlic cloves. We didn't even chop the onions at that time because we just sauteed them in a little bit of oil. Okay, now we've got our beautiful chicken stock with the veggies in there cooking. And now I want to show you what we've got in them, the spices. Okay, first of all, we have chipotle chili powder. And it smells like, what's your favorite chipotle chili thing besides the wrap at like McDonald's? Y'all are supposed to laugh at that too. Okay, we've got chipotle chili powder. We've got some cumin here, and I'm going to pass these around because I want you to be able to smell them. And I'm sorry those of you who are not here because they do smell good. We have a little bit of cayenne pepper and then turmeric, one of our favorite spices that we use because of its anti-inflammatory power with curcumin. Curcumin is powerful anti-inflammatory. Here we go. And so just pass these around and smell them so you can enjoy them. Okay, once we've done that, we're cooking down the chicken soup, and we have our chicken that we cut up earlier in the day. We've already got a little bit in there so we can get it cooked, but this is just our chicken breast. You can use chicken thigh. Heck, you could use a whole chicken and use your raw bones from the carcass afterwards. So we're gonna actually put this in the warm stock that's already got the veggies in it. Here we go. And when you guys get one of those done of the roasted veggie soup, would you bring it over, Stacy, so I can show them how pretty it is? So this is going to cook for a little bit. The chicken is going to actually cook in the soup, the chicken meat, so that's going to add more richness to it. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you. Thank you, Jeannie. All right, here we go. Here's our roasted vegetable soup. Isn't that pretty? So you can see the chunks in it. You can see the basil on top. And you guys, it smells so good from those caramelized vegetables. Ah, yum. And of course, before we send it out to you all, we would always taste before we served it. And I'll tell you why. Because it does not matter if it's healthy or not, right? If you don't taste it and if it doesn't taste good, healthiness is a moot point.
Go ahead.
Okay, so now I want to tell you a little bit more about the Mexican chicken soup, my Mexican inspiration soup. Our chicken has finished cooking in the stock. It only takes about 5 to 7 minutes to cook off in the stock because it's small pieces of chicken and the stock is very warm. It has all those beautiful spices in it that remind us of Mexico. When you smell the spices, isn't that what you thought about? Mexican cooking or Latin cooking? So now, just before I get ready to serve this, I'm going to stir another couple things into my soup. I've got some fresh cilantro that has been chopped, and we're going to stir that into the soup. Does anybody not like cilantro in here? Oh, yes, my people. You could substitute parsley, but the cilantro is really wonderful. So we're going to put some cilantro in there. And remember, I'm making all these recipes by 3 or 4 times, so I've got a lot more than you would put in a regular, in one of the regular recipes. So I'm adding that beautiful green color in there. I've got some of those grilled green onions that we had from earlier. So we caramelized the red onions. They went in there. Now we're going to add in the green onions. So we're going to add a little bit more texture and flavor. And then last but not least, one of the things that I love using instead of salt is citrus juice. I love using either lime or lemon juice or the zest. They're a fabulous substitute for salt, and they add that same, you know how juice, that citrus juice makes a pop of flavor when you put it on something? Same as salt. So we're going to put in some freshly squozed, that's what I call it, squozed lime juice into the soup to add a little pop of flavor. So here we go. My green onions are sticking together. Come apart, green onions, come apart. Okay, and I'm going to bring it over here in just a second. I'm going to let these flavors meld for just a moment while I show you what I'm going to finish it with. All right, so I think avocados should be a kitchen staple. Flour, milk, sugar, oil, avocados. Okay, so this soup is going to be garnished with avocados. Plus, you know, this soup just reminds me of avocados. So I want to show you a quick way to chop your avocado without having to peel it, because avocados and mangoes are 2 things that I see home cooks all the time. And they murder them, poor avocados and mangoes. So all I did was cut around the circumference. Actually, that's top to bottom. Now I'm going to take the heel of my knife and I'm going to whack the avocado seed. Let me get a little bit better. Okay, and there we go. Now here's the problem. This is slimy and sticky, right? So if I try to take it off with my fingers, what's going to happen? I'm going to cut myself, right? So I'm going to use a clean kitchen towel or a paper towel and just take my seed off. Now I don't even have to peel my avocado. In order to chop it, I just need to take it, and I'm bad on this. I actually should put it on the board instead of my hand. So do what I say, not what I do. So I've got it on the board there, and I'm going to just make a nice little chop here. And then look what happens when I take my spoon. I'm going to take my spoon and just go right underneath all that beautiful avocado, and I've got a chopped avocado ready to garnish right there. Thank you. So yum! Okay, so there's my avocado. This one's not quite as ripe as I like it. I like really ripe avocados. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we're getting ready to put the beautiful soup in the bowl. And this is kind of a fun way of doing it. Here it is. And my green peppers, my green onions still don't want to leave each other. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to take a little bit of this beautiful soup with all the, thank you. Is that for my soup?
Yes.
I was going to use the bowl over there, but I'll use this one. So, okay, it's all about pretty here in the kitchen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got some shredded 75% less fat cheddar cheese right here. You can use light cheddar, you can use Monterey Jack, any kind of light cheese. And I will tell you, I'm not plugging a particular kind of cheese or not, but the Cabot 75% light actually melts really nicely, because usually I only suggest 50% light, but theirs melts really nicely. And now what I'm going to do, once I've got my cheese in there, is I'm going to take my beautiful soup and put it right on top of my cheese. So look at that. Oh, that chicken, and it smells so good. I'm getting the cumin and the chipotle smell. There we go. And now to garnish it, all I'm going to do is put a little bit of my avocado in there on top. Whoops, come on, avocado. Little avocado right on top, and a plop of my non-fat Greek yogurt. And tell me that doesn't look good. Okay, they're getting the Mexican soup ready for you. So while they're doing that, I want to talk to you. They're also going to put a yummy cornbread muffin on your plate with your two soups. And for me, I grew up all over the United States, but I'm a Southerner at heart, so when I think about soup, I think about cornbread. Plus, I thought it might be a very good flavor combination with the Mexican soup as well. So let me talk to you a little bit about this lighter cornbread. We do use, in the cornbread, we use cornmeal. To make it lighter, instead of using buttermilk or sour cream, we use skim milk in the cornbread. Since this is a Southern cornbread, I do put a little bit of sugar in it, okay? And then I also put, instead of whole eggs, I substitute egg whites for the entire egg or egg yolks, so they are better for you. I wouldn't eat 6 of them, but having one on the side, and you'll notice also we didn't put any butter or honey or any kind of oil or anything like that with them, because when you eat them with the soup, that's your lubrication right there. So we have a better for you corn muffin coming out with your 2 soups. So let me talk about your seafood gumbo. This is one of my favorite soups, and I love it because people think that seafood gumbo can't be healthy because it's made with what? A roux. And a roux is oil, and a lot of it, and flour. So instead of using a roux as a base for R-O-U-X, instead of using a roux as a base for our gumbo today, we're doing something that's really fun. And I wish, do we have a flat roux whisk over there? We should. Yeah.
I think it's on this side. It's on this side.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, don't you love it when somebody says, I have a roux whisk? But actually, I love the roux whisks because, and this is what it is, y'all see the difference between a regular whisk and the roux whisk? This will move around your material in your pan or in a square pan much better because they can get in the corners, right? So this is what it's called. It's called a roux whisk, and it really does a really nice job. So instead of putting the hot fat and the flour together, cooking it over a long period of time to make a brown roux, all we did was toast our flour. And you can toast it to the degree that you want it to. This is just a lovely golden flour. Here, a golden roux, but you can make it even darker to be more intense. The other thing you can do, if you don't, and you can just put this on the oven, on the cooktop and just stir it every once in a while. The other way you can do this is put it in the oven, in a flat pan, on a sheet pan. Turn it on 350 or 400, take about an hour to get nice and brown. So here is what we're using for the roux today. So what we have here is a shrimp stock. So let me tell you about how we did the shrimp stock. The easiest way to do shrimp stock, and you can see at the very bottom of the recipe with a little asterisk there. The easiest way to do the shrimp stock is to start with veg stock, okay? So what we do is we make a lot of vegetable stock here. We just put it in the freezer, and when we get ready to make shrimp stock, we get the vegetable stock out. Now, I love shrimp that's in its shells because I can use it to make shrimp stock. Or I love it because it keeps that yummy, yummy ocean briny flavor in. So to make your shrimp stock, you take the shells off the fish, put it in your veg stock, bring it to a simmer, and guess what? You have shrimp stock. Do not use that bottled clam stock in the grocery store. It is gross, you guys, because I mean, that's a highly technical culinary term. But it's got so much salt on it, and I even thought about buying a bottle just so I could show the amount of sodium. Do you have any? It's like a day's worth of sodium in a cup of that clam stock in the grocery store. So if you don't have shrimp stock for this, if you buy shelled shrimp, peeled shrimp, just use vegetable stock. You'll still have a yummy gumbo, but just making your shrimp stock ahead of time will intensify the flavor. Also, if you splurge, somebody has a birthday or a special occasion, you buy lobster and you have lobster shells, you can make a seafood stock with your lobster shells. When my husband and I splurge and have something like that, I cook, he cleans, he's getting ready to throw the shells into the garbage can. I'm like, wait, stop. Okay, so 4 cups of veg stock, your shrimp shells from a pound of shrimp, bring it to a simmer. When you strain it, hold your shells down, okay? So you're trying to get all the goodie out of it. So in here, we have used the roux, we have got this stock, we have got the shrimp stock. I want to show you real quickly how to do this. We saute an onion and a red pepper, and of course, we use green onions. In Louisiana, they call it the Holy Trinity. Green peppers, onions, and celery. We're changing it up a little bit because I like red peppers better. Okay, we've got an onion, so let me just show you quick 3 steps to chop an onion. We have a stem end and a root end. I'm going to take the stem end, take the stem off, put it flat on the board, okay? Once I do that, it's not going to rock. Flat on the board is the secret to chopping any fruits or veggies. Take half of it off. Look, I still have the paper on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel the paper off because look what a good handhold I have. Okay, so now all I'm doing, okay, so 3-step process. Now I'm going to just take my onion and I'm making a horizontal cut. And I'm going to start crying in a minute. This is a very potent onion. And now I'm making a cut down the top, and now I'm just going to hold it together. And now I'm going to go right through it. And look at this, you guys. What do I have? Beautiful chopped onion. So that's the easiest way, I think, to chop an onion. So we've got our onion going right here. Now, I want to show you how to do a red pepper. This is my favorite thing to show people because sometimes afterwards people go, oh, I never knew that. Okay, we're going to do the same theory as we did with the onion. The top of the red pepper is going to come off and the bottom. I'm going to make a slit down the side and open up my red pepper. Okay, now I'm just going to take out the ribs and the seeds just like this. Now, what I can do, I really am crying. And now what I can do is I can just make some cuts down my red pepper, hold it together, and look at this, you guys. Now I have chopped red pepper. Isn't that easy? Now if I want some julienne, which are the long, thin strips of pepper, I can take these, and now I have some julienne pepper as well. And guess what? If I wanted to roast this pepper, I would take this piece, the bottom and the top, because we don't throw anything away in the kitchen that we can use, and we'll put it on an aluminum foil lined baking sheet, put it right underneath the broiler, get it nice and brown, take it out, and then we can just kind of move the red pepper skin off, and we have roasted red pepper. Okay, I get excited about that. Okay. Smoked paprika. How many people have used smoked paprika before? A couple. Hey, would somebody grab me a little bowl? All right, smoked paprika is bacon without bacon. Okay, wait till you smell it if you haven't used it before. And Stacy, will you take this out for me too? You can buy it in the grocery store. It's simply the paprika that has been smoked. I took all the pork or smoked turkey out of this, and I substituted, out of this recipe, I substituted the smoked paprika. So now this is truly a pescatarian dish, someone who eats only fish. So we sauteed our veggies, our beautiful red onion, our beautiful red pepper, our onion, our green onions, all in the bottom. We added our stock, we whisked in our whole wheat flour, and now we're gonna finish it off by putting in our shrimp, our crab meat, a little hot sauce. I also used a little bit of Cajun seasoning. Any kind in the store is great. This has got a lot of paprika in it, so that is one reason why Cajun seasoning is Cajun seasoning. Look at this gorgeous shrimp. It is large shrimp and medium shrimp. If you're doing this and you're doing a double batch of it, buy 1 bag of large and 1 bag of medium. People will get the large feel, and then you also have medium. So the difference in the large and the medium shrimp, depending on whether they're on sale or not, is like $7. So that's quite a bit. Oh. And then we have some crab meat. Now listen, you do not have to buy lumped crab meat for this seafood gumbo. I personally think the claw or back fin crab meat is better anyway, because guess what? It tastes crabbier. So we're gonna probably split this into 2 pots.
Don't have another pot.
Oh, that's right.
I'm gonna put the crab in the bowl. How about that?
Okay, so let me, before you do that, let me show them. We'll pretend, I'm not gonna serve this to anybody, so I won't put my dirty fingers in there. We have some brown rice, okay? You do not have to have white rice for gumbo. You're getting it all ushy-gushy with the sauce anyway. Then Lee is gonna plop in a little bit of gumbo for me. Here. And then we are going to garnish it with a little bit of parsley and some green onions on top. We're also going to pass around the Tabasco in case anybody wants it. And we're going to taste to see whether this needs a little Tabasco in it as well. So green onions on the top and a little parsley. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite lunch. So crab meat, shrimp, the beautiful vegetables, the roux without the oil in it, green onions for the pop of flavor, and the parsley. So I can't wait for you guys to try it. So while you all are enjoying your soup, I want to talk a little bit about dessert, because we're going to get that ready for you next. No, don't feed me so much. Okay. This granola that we're going to show you right now is so good, and it's so much better for you than granola that you buy in the grocery store. I was in the store the other day, and I picked up a national brand granola, and the sugar and the fat in the granola were breathtaking. And I went through even the ones that said lower sugar, better for you, lighter. You can have a 1/4 cup of it for 180 calories. And you know how much a 1/4 cup is? Not much, okay? So this granola is much lighter, and the reason it is because we use 3 ingredients, first of all, to sweeten it. We use maple syrup, and we're circling back to the citrus again. We're using orange juice and orange zest. So you can make this granola up with very low sugar, and it has absolutely no oil in it, no salt in it, but it uses a lot of familiar things, but familiar foods, but in a different combination. We roast almonds and walnuts for this granola. We use whole oats, and Shayna said millet as well. So how many people have ever used millet at home?
We're going to talk about millet.
okay? Well, I'm going to let Shayna tell you about the nutritional value. What I think of millet when I look at it is the little teeny round balls that are in bird food. But it's very good for you, and Shayna will tell you about that. Another way we increased the sweetness of the granola without adding sugar was with dried fruit. So we used dried apples for this. And the reason I used apples was because it's apple season. You can use dried apricots or dates, figs, raisins, cranberries, whatever you like in here. So we're going to serve this with a little frozen, non-fat vanilla yogurt. Okay, it's just a store brand. And we're going to make a parfait with this by putting the yummy granola with the frozen yogurt. So how good is that? The other couple of things I want to tell you that's in this granola, I talked a little bit about adding herbs and spices, but another way that you can make things sweet without adding sugar, what do we think about as baking spices? When you walk in the house and cinnamon, exactly. What else? Nutmeg, okay? All of those are warm baking spices. So cardamom, we're using mace, which is actually the outer covering of nutmeg. It's a little bit stronger smelling than nutmeg. So we're using those warm baking spices in this too. And that just registers in our brain as, sugar. So we also use that to make our granola really, really flavorful. If you don't have mace at home and you don't want to buy mace, you can use a little nutmeg. It's fine. So this granola is baked. So it just goes right in the oven, it bakes, and it's so much easier than putting oil on it, sauteing it in a pan, and since it dries out, even the oats you're putting in the oven, since it dries out and toasts, when you put the orange juice maple syrup and zest on the granola, it sucks it up, and it just makes it taste delicious. I want to show our viewers our beautiful yogurt parfait and talk a little bit about how we finished it off today. Now this morning when we did it, we just used the non-fat Greek yogurt and the granola. That was it. One of the things you could do to make a yogurt parfait for breakfast is also add in some fresh fruit, or you could use the granola as a cereal. But today we wanted to be special for you all. So since we're using dried apples in here, what we did was we took some Granny Smith apples and chopped them up. How many did we use, Stacey? About 3 or 4? 5, okay. And then we put about 8 ounces of apple juice, just regular unsweetened apple juice, into a little saute pan. And we just reduced it down and reduced it down and reduced it down. Probably took about an hour. But it made this wonderful, like apple sauce, but kind of a glaze, and that's all there is in it. Apple juice and chopped Granny Smith apples. They asked me if I wanted any sugar in it. I said no, because it tastes like Granny Smith apples. It doesn't taste like applesauce, commercial applesauce. So that's what we've got on top of our beautiful little granola parfaits. So this is just about 3 or 4 bitefuls, but it's enough to give you a lovely sweet ending to our soup meal today. And again, you don't have to use frozen yogurt, but we wanted to make it special for you today.